You are listening to KZSB 1290 AM Co-Work Radio. I'm Catherine Raymond.
And I'm Jane Walker-Wood.
And as we mentioned before the break, so one of our favorite parts of the show every week is talking to John Greathouse. He's a UCSB professor, business author, and has invested and has been an entrepreneur multiple times as well, and just all-around great guy. So, hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, good. It is March is Women's History Month, and so we're asking you questions, particularly about women entrepreneurs. You've got a lot of great stories. Do you have another one for us today?
I do. I think people enjoyed Martha, so I came prepared with another entrepreneur that most people probably haven't heard of, Ida Rosenthal. But again, she is a very, very good example of a woman who just persevered against all odds and really had a big impact on a lot of people and really changed her world in her own way. So I'll quickly give you her background. So she was 18 years old when she came to the U.S. in 1904. She didn't speak any English, so like many immigrants, she spoke her native tongue of Russian. And she was just a really super hard worker. Her husband was ill, so she became the breadwinner by default. She just had to go out there and make it happen. She ended up saving up enough. She was a seamstress, so she ended up saving up enough money to buy a sewing machine, and she started creating dresses from photos. So obviously she was very talented. She didn't have the money to go buy a pattern. She just would look at a photo in a magazine, and then she would recreate that dress. She did that for about 12 years, had a nice little, small little business going. 15, basically had about 15 employees at that point. And her little dresses, I shouldn't say little dresses, her dresses were $25 each. It was a nice small business. But her big break, she was an overnight success. It only took her about 12 years. Her big break came when one of her customers was spotted in her $25 dress in a very high-end boutique. And the woman that worked at the boutique said, always have with an eye to fashion, looking at what people are wearing. She walked over and she said, "Where did you get that dress?" And the woman sort of sheepishly said, "Oh, Ida Rosenthal, it's not really that expensive or anything."
That seems like a lot of money, $25
well,
for a dress.
This boutique was selling dresses for $300.
Oh, in 1900?
Yeah, 1900.
Wow.
By
you
then,
can get a $25 dress now at Forever New. Don't I look good?
It's about 1920, I think, by now. I'm just roughly. But yeah,
okay.
it wasn't, yes, they weren't... They weren't super high-end fashion, but again, they weren't
and
the lowest.
No designer name either,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the Roaring '20s, that was a more prosperous time.
But this is something else I like about Ida. So, again, a dozen years in, the woman from the boutique approaches her, and she said, I will sell your dresses for $300 each.
Wow.
And you would think that she would just jump at that chance, these same dresses that she sold for $20, and Ida said no. And the reason she said no is she said, "I'll go into business with you. Let's do it together." So she wanted to share in that upside, which I think is a common trait of entrepreneurs, as opposed to just taking the quick money and running. So she said, "No, let's do it together." So they created a joint boutique. They had an equal partnership. And she took all of her life savings, which at this point was pretty substantial, and she betted on this new boutique. She really believed in it. It was going pretty well, but again, I don't think we'd be talking about her 100 years later if she hadn't done the next thing. So what she would do is when she would show the dresses or when people would try on dresses, she would put little pads in the area that we would consider a bra or a brassiere now. She would sew them into the dresses. And women were like, oh, they like that look. They like the padding there. And then a woman came in one day and she said, "I love your dresses, but can I just get the pads because I have other dresses that I want to use them in?" And again, like an entrepreneur, she didn't hesitate. She said yes. And she immediately sold them for $1 each, even though 5 minutes before that product didn't exist and she had no price for that product. So she essentially created the brassiere. Many years of it took a while to catch on.
Before that, women were wearing the corset.
Or nothing, or maybe a slip, like a silk slip or something underneath. Hollywood caught on in 1922, and it exploded. So somebody was seen in a movie like their bra strap or something, and that sort of sparked, mainstream. By 1926, so 4 years later, she was selling 500,000 bras a year, and she had rented a factory, and her company was off and running.
Did she actually have the patent on it?
Yes,
then? She did.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm actually show the patent in my class because they have the patent still. You can Google it. And the name of her company is Maidenform.
Oh,
By,
wow.
by 1940, 95% of every department store in the U.S. carried her product.
Wow.
And it's a
That-
product that did not exist
Now,
before she
how
created it.
What an
could you
amazing
patent
story.
something like
You
that?
can. Well, there's a design elements to it. So the way the snaps and just the way I'm actually looking at the patent right now. I pulled it up. It's you can design.
Isn't it very hard to protect a patent nowadays?
It is
unless
very
it's
hard.
something very scientific.
It is very hard. But if you're earlier, it's going to be easier. But so certainly other companies knocked her off. Other people competed with Maidenform, and they would just make some slight changes to maybe the strap design or something. Maybe have the straps not go over the shoulders, have them go around the back, things like that. But she had such a huge first mover advantage that, again, 95% of the stores.
I would have
And-
assumed
yeah.
it was invented in France or somewhere in Europe.
I know.
Right?
It is what a great story
Yeah,
that
it's
is.
crazy.
I have a question for you because you said in both of the women that you described this week and last about the fact that they had no other choice. They had no other income. They were in this situation where they had to do something, and made them better entrepreneurs, made them create something. And I don't know, but I was just thinking, our affluent Santa Barbara here, is there the same motivation that you see from, because can you really be an entrepreneur and also have, most of the kids I'm sure at UCSB come from money and
No, they really don't. UCSB has a very large scholarship.
It does it? Yeah, I was just
Don't
curious
they?
if it's different here. Or...
So necessity certainly, breeds a lot of things, including entrepreneurship. I think the underlying body chemistry of whether you're an entrepreneur or not is there. I think what you're touching upon is very valid. It has to be coupled with the motivation. So I might have the DNA to be an entrepreneur, but if I'm not really motivated to be one, I'm probably not going to really spend a lot of time working hard.
And the motivation doesn't always come from starving.
No,
it can
it
come
doesn't.
from other places.
Yeah, it can. We know this. We've seen it in the second and third generation successful families where that DNA continues and the person wants to prove themselves. As far as UCSB is concerned, I think I have students. I have immigrant students, a lot of first generation students, and I have students that I can tell obviously come from affluent homes, and I see that entrepreneurial spark in both of them. So I don't know what the percent would be of those populations, but I certainly see it across the board.
Thank you so much. I love the focus on the Women's History Month. This has been fun. John Greathouse is with us every week, and you can send in questions easily by going to coworkradio.com. You're listening to KZSB 1290 AM, and we'll see you next week.
All right, I'll see you.